That woman you hear screaming is screaming because she's being tasered by a police officer in Ohio. The incident was caught on tape by a dash cam. It's now under investigation. I'm going to show you the tape now. A woman tasered again and again and again. It is hard to watch and some would say difficult to justify. Standing over her, Patrolman Richard Kovac repeatedly tasers the woman while she crawls from the side of the car before slamming her head against the police car. Even then, he doesn't stop jolting her with the device. The woman who was thrown out of a bar was then handcuffed and placed in his cruiser. In the back seat, she could be seen trying to kick the window out. That's when Officer Kovac tasers her another time. As she pleads for him to stop, Kovac gives her a warning. When more officers arrive, he removes her from the cruiser with one more threat.
You're going to walk to that car or you're getting tasered again.
Kovac tasers her one more time. That woman was taken by ambulance to a hospital, then later pleaded not guilty to the charges against her. Now, as for the officer, he's on paid administrative leave. We should note that in the report that he filed, he said his taser misfired repeatedly during the incident. This is the second time this week that the tasers are in the news. And earlier I spoke to John McCree of the John Jay College of Criminal Justice here in New York. So, what do you think of that video?
Soledad, it's very distressing because the prisoner was handcuffed, she was confined, and the police officer shot her in short range and did it repeatedly. And as a result, she was injured and had to be hospitalized.
Are there basic rules about when you can taser people, like when you're handcuffed, it's not okay?
Well, there may be some occasions when, even if a person is handcuffed, it's an acceptable procedure, but that certainly isn't usually the case. If a person is threatening a police officer or threatening someone else or threatening his or her own life, or about to do something dangerous, throw a bomb, for example, obviously to use a taser in a circumstance like that is reasonable.
This clearly comes on the heels of the other well-known tasering case now, which is Andrew Meyer, the student who was at a rally and he was a protester, a heckler, and he gets tasered. Why do you think, I mean, did you think that was clearly excessive use of force in your mind?
That also was excessive use of force, yes. And police have long sought to have a non-lethal weapon, and this is the weapon of choice. They also have pepper spray, which they could use. It's of a lesser danger to use it. And so they're just inclined to use it, overuse it sometimes. But large police departments train better, select better, and supervise better so that events like the one we saw in Warren, Ohio, don't occur so often in big cities.
It seems like we're seeing more and more lately. Is that because of YouTube and we just sort of have more access to the videotape, or is it because there actually are more incidents?
Well, there are more tasers out there, for one thing, and there's the urgency of using them to see what will happen. But all police officers are trained in using tasers before they're given them. They have a session in the police academy. Or
trained enough, do you think?
Maybe not enough. They need to have sensitivity to it. They need to know that this is a non-lethal weapon, but sometimes it is lethal. If the person is thin, if the person is, has skin exposed, if the person has a pre-existing heart condition, if the person is on certain kinds of drugs, there can be death resulting from the taser.
There's another case. It's a family in Florida, which in fact is now suing the police department. A woman, 56 years old, wheelchair-bound, schizophrenic, holding a hammer and some knives. Police are called in, and they taser her almost a dozen times, and she dies.
Yes.
Why would you ever taser a wheelchair-bound schizophrenic?
Because you're not trained properly, you haven't been selected properly, and you haven't been supervised properly. It's absolutely unacceptable behavior on the part of the person holding the taser and using the taser to do so under those circumstances.
Well, we've seen in all the videotape that we've showed, the goal is to get someone to calm down, to comply. You know, if you get out of the car and if you walk, otherwise I'm going to taser you. And you see her get out of the car and she's starting to walk, tasers her anyway. It seems to not really, it goes against what you're trying to do, get the person to comply.
What's happening in police academies these days is a lot of training in non-confrontational behavior, how to calm people down without using any kind of a weapon, giving them time, using soothing words, not being in-your-face kind of aggressiveness.
So the ones that we've seen on videotape in this lawsuit as well, are those the exception or those the rule?
Well, those are the exceptions, but as you point out, Soledad, there are too many exceptions.
Professor Robert McCree from the John Jay College, nice to see you. Thanks for talking with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.